Welcome to Cantina, Jargon.
What's up, everyone? It is Joe and Caden back here with Cantina Jargon. This is episode 3. We just saw episode 3 of Ahsoka this week. We got episode 4 coming up in a couple days. Caden, let's just kick it right off. We haven't really talked a lot, since the episode aired, but let's start with your thoughts on episode 3. It was a pretty short one, obviously.
Yeah. So I honestly pretty much loved the episode. It was definitely short and sweet. The only thing that I was kind of like at first, now after rewatching, I'm like, all right, it fits. But like the very beginning, with like the Sabine training felt a little to me like a little drawn out.
Yeah.
Um, but it in the end, like I feel like it made up for it. It was a packed episode. There was so much going on in it, and everything. Hearing Marrok talk was really cool too.
Yeah.
Obviously Ahsoka going out. I don't know if she's wearing the same Eva suit she wore in Clone Wars, but her going outside of her T6 shuttle, and I thought that was so sick
That
when I saw it.
was my favorite part, I think, when she
Yeah,
went
no,
outside the shuttle, because that's just like that's something new, and I like getting something new in Star Wars. Obviously, we've
yeah,
seen it in animation, but never in live action, and
y-
yeah, it
yeah.
was cool.
Just to see that in live action, and the fact that like her helmet was like built around her Leicu was
Oh
really
yeah,
cool.
it's
It's like such a
perfectly
cool
built,
detail.
like and
Yeah.
it's like it's got like some sort of seal like right here. Yeah, that
Yeah,
was
like, it almost looked like the TIE fighter like helmets, like with like the chest piece where like
right.
the tubes come down. I was like, it looks pretty cool.
Yeah, that was pretty wild. I was pretty shocked when she's like, "I'm going outside the ship," and next thing you know, we see her with like the sealed suit on outside the ship. That
Yeah,
was pretty awesome. No, I thought the episode moved along really quickly. Like you said, besides just the training scene, like the part where she had the mask on, like, and she's trying to like figure out where Ahsoka is was like, okay, I get the concept, and it doesn't need to go on
yeah.
for like 5 minutes, but
I
yeah, it's nice to see like training though. I don't, you know what I mean? We don't get a lot of training in Jedi and like, or not in Jedi, in
yeah
Star Wars in general, training of Jedi in Star Wars. So it's nice to see like people actually training and like working on like their skills and stuff, so that they're not just Mary Sue's or Gary Sue's,
yeah,
whatever they
and
call 'em.
like with Sabine, like cause she's like obviously force everyone's force sensitive, but just like on this scale.
Mhm.
But her like at the end finally like realizing like Ahsoka was there and her turning around, I'm like, all right, Sabine is like. It's kind of like how like when she started connecting with the dark saber, she could say like she was saying like it's starting to feel lighter. Like it's almost like she was starting to open herself up to the Force a little bit more.
Yeah.
Where when she turned around and like knew Ahsoka was there.
Right. I don't think she's ever gonna. Let's talk about, I guess, Sabine with the Force. So I'm okay with her being Force sensitive, and the explanation that everyone has the Force or can tap into the Force, like that's perfectly fine to me, because it
Yeah,
kind of aligns with what Obi-Wan said in Episode 4, right? About the Force lives in all living things, and what
it
Yoda
yeah binds
says,
you,
and
penetrates you.
right, and Empire Strikes Back. So it it makes sense to me that she would be able to possibly tap into it, but I don't think she's ever going to wield it like someone like Ahsoka or Luke would do. I mean, what
Oh
are your
yeah,
thoughts?
God no, yeah, yeah. I love that they're bringing back like the George Lucas concept of like everybody has the Force. Han Solo has the Force.
Right.
He just obviously like the midichlorian count is so low that it's pretty much rendering him useless when it comes to using it.
Hmm.
I think it's really cool that they have it in there. And I remember like seeing videos of people so upset that like Sabine's Force sensitive. Oh my god, oh my god. It's not a big deal because it's not like she's on even Shin's level, or like
Right.
Ahsoka, like you said. Like there's no way in hell that she's gonna get to that point. She might have like in one of the shot, I think it was in the third trailer where Sabine's on the ground with her helmet off in the Red Force, like
Hmm.
like begging. I think she might like with the foreshadowing of her grabbing the cup of the Force. I think she might grab Ezra's saber or at least wiggle it a little bit,
Yeah.
kind of like in ESB on Hoth.
Yeah.
But I think that's really the extent of where her force sensitivity is gonna go.
That's exactly what I'd like to see, though. If they're gonna give her anything, like I want to see like the Hoth Empire
Yeah,
Strikes Back, like grabbing a saber, and that's about it. Like she's not gonna like force push someone, or you know what I mean. But
yeah,
the
she's
thing
not.
is,
Yeah,
she's a Mandalorian, so she can still fight. We know she can fight, and I think she can still win some of those battles, possibly not against a less skilled Jedi, not against someone like Balin or whatever. But
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
and to like, not that Kanan wasn't trying, but she still overpowered Kanan with the darksaber. But even then, too, like, I guess it all depends on like how force sensitive that foe is, and also too, the mental game. I feel like Shin is a lot like Anakin in Episode 2. At least that's the impression I've got. She acts way more on impulse and questions too many things. Like with Balin, she's like, "Do
Hmm.
we even trust her?" When we're talking about Morgan Elsbeth, she seems like she's constantly trying to prove herself, and that's
Yeah.
gonna end up being her downfall. She's gonna get too much tunnel vision, and it's gonna leave a pocket open for Sabine to take advantage of her. I don't even want to say like cockiness, but her strong will to impress.
Yeah, no,
And
I think that's a good point. I think in the fight they already had, we kind of saw her like just screwing with Sabine anyway. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like she wasn't
she was
really.
testing the
Yeah,
waters.
she could have easily won that fight, and she waited.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No.
Until
Yeah.
Ahsoka
That
showed up. Yeah.
that would have been like not even like 3 strikes and done.
Yeah.
Sabine's not a master of Sarisu, so there's nothing like. I think she was like trying to figure out like, okay, like what does Sabine have? How good is she? And is she actually a threat, or is this just a joke?
Right. Right.
And I think that's why she was like throwing her over her shoulder, or like throwing her cape in her face. She was just like messing with her, toying with her, trying to figure her out.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I think. So I think Sabine's probably gonna learn a lesson in this next episode with the battle.
Oh,
So
yeah.
whether or not she's gonna survive to see, I hope she does. Honestly, I know you have a video coming out about what might happen to Shin here in the next episode, and
Yep, later today.
we've talked about what happened, what we saw in the trailer, the clip that you discovered.
Yeah.
But I hope, my hope is that she's unconscious. I think Shin is a really interesting character, and she can develop a ton, especially since we know we're not going to have Ray Stevenson going forward. It'd be nice to have Shin at least,
Yeah.
That's my thought.
And with my video too, I had 2 theories with it. I'm not going to spoil everything for it, but I had 2 theories. One with Shin dying, and one with her surviving. And the one with her surviving goes further and further in the video, and the one with her dying is very short. In that, though, I talk about her possibly going like to Tatooine or something, and going into like a cantina and bumping into Talon Card.
Right.
So that's in the video, and go into it a little bit more in the detail. So if they wanted to go that way for the Empire with Mara Jade, that opens the door to that. Especially with Ray Stevenson no longer being alive.
And she's the right age for that Mara Jade type character. So
yeah, like late 20s, early 30s.
Yeah. So I think it's definitely a possibility. I made a video, gosh, like
5 months ago.
Yeah, like 4 or 5 months ago about how her character, just the description of it sounded like Mara Jade, and that might be some sort of replacement. So I think if she survives, I think you're probably on the right path there. I think we're gonna see her maybe team up with. I mean, honestly, it could even be Boba. I mean, Boba could be our Talon Card of this era, just because he's not gonna be doing crime in the traditional way that we know the Hutts did. He's doing more of like a information broker, like, you know what I mean? He's gonna be more of like the guy to go to who knows about the underworld, and he's gonna be able to answer people's questions. So I think he could be somewhat of a Talon Card. That being said, I still want to see Talon Card. I wish it'd be
I
the
do too.
Talon Card.
I mean, literally, like Ian McShane is the perfect like fan casting for Talon Card,
that'd be amazing.
Like,
oh my
like
gosh.
and Boba too, like being like the information broker would be like really cool to see as well. But like I said, like you said, like, I want to see Talon Card.
Right. I want to see Boba be more badass. So I want to see him lean into the action a little bit more, and I'd like to see Talon Card show up. I mean, I could also see Hondo replacing Talon though, if they bring him into the story. Because
then he would also have that relationship with Ezra Bridger.
Yeah.
So that could go into it, and get quickly sidelight into that. I'm gonna have to end my suspicions of Marrok being Ezra. There's no way at this point.
Yeah, I don't think so. But there was a rumor that came out about Marrok this week. I don't know if you saw anything about it. I don't want to spoil anything, but let's just put it this way. Some of the rumors circling around Marrok and what might actually be happening is that it's a little disappointing based on a lot of the theories out there. So,
and
we'll see though.
Yeah, and like that's the thing. I made my video 4 months ago when we had just the first teaser trailer.
Right.
So all the information now that we have it's leaning more and more less towards that.
Yeah.
And I've seen like people, especially like new Rockstars, getting so upset. Like, let Marrok just be Marrok. And that's fine. If Marrok is literally just Marrok, I'm perfectly fine with that.
Oh yeah, me too.
But like, what's fun about saying like maybe a Starkiller? It's the speculation, just having fun with it. It's not
Right.
taking it too seriously. I hate when people say like, "Oh, everyone that makes theories or speculation videos gets their hopes up because it's their speculations turn into expectations," and that's not the case, at least for me. Like,
Right.
I would love if Mara Jade and Luke showed up in episode 6 of Ahsoka.
Right.
Do I expect it to happen? No, but would it be cool? Sure. But
Yeah.
it's not gonna happen. Like, it's just it's something to mess around with and have fun with, just to make a good laugh, have everyone enjoy it.
I think I think it's fun. Yeah, I think it's fun to theorize and speculative, like especially like the wild speculation. Like that's what's fun, because yeah, I'm in agreement. If Marrok is Marrok, then like great, that's cool. We got a new Inquisitor, and we're gonna learn. Hopefully, we'll learn more about him in the future. But like, as far as if it's Ezra or if it's Starkiller, like that would only heighten it when the reveal happens. Obviously, if it doesn't happen, like it's not the end of the world. Like we're gonna see Ezra still, and Starkiller we're probably not gonna see ever if we don't see him here. But I just want to see Sam Witwer get an acting job in live action, basically. With Star Wars. That's what I really want to see. So
I'm tired of Sam being limited to just voice acting. When Sam, like, some people watch Riverdale. I saw Sam's episode in Riverdale.
yeah,
Sam is a really good actual actor, and also like in Days Gone, the PS4 video game. He's such a good actual actor.
mm-hmm.
Why he isn't in live action Star Wars for anything is beyond me. Minus like little cameos and stuff.
Right.
Like,
I was watching I watched Battlestar Galactica this year. I hadn't watched it before. That's Katie Sackhoff's show.
Yeah.
And he was in it, and I was like, he was in it for like 4 episodes.
Really?
Yeah, like in the first or second season, I'm like, oh my god, Sam Witwer, like with Katie Sackhoff, and he was good. Like,
yeah.
I mean, he should be in something Star Wars. So if he's not Marrok, which I still think he's voicing Marrok, regardless of what happens.
Yeah,
I think that's Sam Witwer's voice. We heard the voice, and I'm like, that is Sam Witwer. Like,
no, it literally sounds like the DLC in the first Force Unleashed game, where like the non-canon version of like where Starkiller goes and like turns Luke to the dark side.
Yeah, the dark side Starkiller.
Or like when Starkiller goes and kills Han and Chewie on not Yavin, Endor. Like,
right.
Just like those DLCs were so fun to play, and hearing like the voice modulator, and also too, I just want to say something too. Like in Andor, the reference to the Rakatan Empire also showed Starkiller's helmet.
Yeah.
Now we're getting additional voices from Sam Witwer in this, and if my theory is right, before New Rockstars came out with it anyway, and saying that the Rakatan Empire had something to do with this, I think that there might be laying the stepping stones through these other shows, and a show like Andor where it wouldn't be expected too. But no one expected a Starkiller helmet cameo in it either.
Right, no one expected that reference at all. So I still think like that's the most likely. If it is going to be someone we recognize under that helmet, I think it's going to be Sam Witwer. Otherwise, it's like a nobody. You know what I mean? Just a maskless or a faceless Inquisitor, which is possible, and that's fine. Like you know.
It's perfectly fine too. And people have been saying like, well, it's not going to be Starkiller. Like Starkiller's way too powerful. Yeah, no, we're saying Starkiller because it's Sam Witwer.
Right.
Like,
right.
The Inquisitor could very well be Galen Merrick, but it's not going to be our Starkiller. It's going to be a toned down Inquisitor version of Starkiller, which either way, it being Sam Witwer, it's still Starkiller because it's Sam Witwer.
That's the way I see it. He's not going to be pulling down. Yeah, he's not going to be pulling down a Star Destroyer and all that. But if it's Sam Witwer, then it's Starkiller in my book, even if he's not as powerful, and he shouldn't be as powerful. It was ridiculous in the games. It's a video game.
Yeah, that's like he's more powerful than Vader.
Right.
Like at least in the second game, that's how it feels anyway. Like Starkiller's way more powerful than Vader.
Yeah, it's like his limits have like no bounds, like with the Force. So it's like, I think they need to definitely nerf him big time if it is Sam Witwer. And I just want to see Sam Witwer as an Inquisitor / he was Galen Merrick at some point. Like, cool. That's all I want.
Or even if they don't want to give a first name, just having Marrok as his name.
That works.
Like that's his version of Galen Merrick, in canon and live action.
Yeah, that works for me. I hope so.
At the same time, like I feel like if they wanted Sam to be the face of Merrick, why wouldn't they have him doing the stunt performance? Like that's how Ray Park started out for
That's
Maul.
true.
He was just the start performer, but at the same time, I could see how Sam was like, no, I just want to do the cameo because that's more of what Sam does anyways, just cameos.
Yeah, it could be to hide the identity if they're really worried about hiding the identity. I mean, because the only reason I think it's going to be someone is because of the secrecy, like around, like the mystery around the character. Like we didn't hear him talk till episode 3. We know nothing about him.
And it was 3 lines,
right?
Yeah.
And like he's silent, like he's faceless. That's why. It's because they're building up this mystery around this Inquisitor. Like, oh, how did an Inquisitor live this long? We thought all the Inquisitors were dead by now. Well, no, here's this mystery Inquisitor. Like that if they don't think fans are going to speculate about that, they're insane.
Yeah, and you could tell he's been around for a while. Like his armor, like especially in the last episode when we saw the cockpit shots, like it's really rusted.
Yeah,
it looks like he hasn't been maintaining it or like cleaning it, and he's just not caring.
Right.
Which means he's been around since probably the start, like the fall of the Republic.
Yeah.
Or maybe a little bit after. Maybe if he was like a Padawan or something then, and like got like the Trilla treatment.
Yeah.
So, like, he's definitely been around for some time. He's not just some new Inquisitor that came up in the last 10 years.
Oh yeah, absolutely. No, he's been around for a while. We know that from the Star Wars synopsis is that he's a former Inquisitor at least, but the rust all over the but he doesn't have any Empire insignias on the uniform either, which is interesting.
Same thing with his like cape too. There was no Empire insignia on it.
Yeah, it's true. Very interesting character, and I hope he doesn't just die in this next episode. I hope we get to like learn more about him too and see more about him. I know that this is not a show about the villains, but somehow the villains have become like the most interesting part of the show so far for me. Like Baylan, Shin, and Marrok are like where I want to know more about them.
It's the Ahsoka show, but the villains are the stars, and that's
right.
That's kind of, I mean, at least to me, I know like Darth Vader only had like 4 minutes of screen time in A New Hope.
Yeah.
But to me, Darth Vader was the main character of A New Hope.
Right.
It's Luke's story, but Darth Vader is, oh shit, that's the bad guy.
Right. That's what people cling on to.
Instantly
right?
opens the door. Like 4 minutes of screen time opens the door to hours upon hours of theories. Like, who is he? Where did he come from? What's his backstory? What's his relationship to the character?
Yeah.
And I don't think he's gonna die, but I do think Ahsoka's gonna unmask him. From the first shot in the teaser trailer where she says like, I've heard whispers about Thrawn's return as heir of the Empire. It's obviously after they fought because she doesn't have her poncho on either. And she has a poncho on when she's fighting Marrok, and then when she goes to talk to Baylan, she's not wearing it either. And she's sitting there like with like this, like she knows who she's talking to, so she definitely knew the person beforehand. And I think they're incapacitated, and Ahsoka is talking to them, maybe even trying to bring them back to the light, or is just pretty much doing what she did with Grogu and talking to them through the Force in some way to communicate, or like to look at through. I mean, I don't even know if she can do that, but like look at his backstory through his eyes, so to speak.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know if that's possible. I mean, Ahsoka now has like Force psychometry,
right? She could find out something like, probably.
She has beast control and Force psychometry. What's next?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think Ahsoka is like overly powered or anything like that at this point, but she's definitely she's been a Jedi almost longer than anyone alive at this in this era. So probably even longer than Baylan. I don't know for sure, but probably around the same.
I mean, I would say she stopped being a Padawan during the last episode of Victory and Death. That's when at least in my mind, she became, even though she's not a Jedi, she became a Jedi.
I agree.
She ultimately sacrificed everything to save her friends and family, which that being Rex.
Yeah, and she definitely embodies what it means to be the Jedi at that point in the show, right? But at the end of the show, at the end of the Clone Wars. So I think, and then what we see in Tales of the Jedi, when she picks back up that saber and takes down the Inquisitor, I think that is her
so
kind
cool
of also,
too how she did that.
Oh yeah, that was just she made it quick there for that guy. But I think it's gonna be a little tougher for Marrok. I don't know, but do you think episode 4 is when we see Marrok's face? You think that she unmasks him? Okay, well I think so too. I hope so, because the 4 episodes after episode 4, I think are going to be pretty Ahsoka centric. I don't think we're going to have a lot of time to focus on these other characters. I think it's going to be Ezra, Thrawn, Ahsoka. It's going to be that story is going to take over kind of for the next 4 episodes. So, which makes sense, and it should be.
And from out of the 12 trailers we have, there's only 4 or 5 shots that we haven't seen yet, which is the Ghost in Ahsoka's T6 shuttle, Hera in the Red Forest planet Cetos. And then there's like a couple of things where with Thrawn obviously, and then I'm just gonna say the planet where Thrawn is and when he's walking on the bridge of the ship is Wayland. Just based off like the environment. I
really hope it's Wayland. But yeah, it looks like it with the mountains out there. I that would mean that they're gonna get him back to the core galaxy though fairly quickly. So which might be the case. I could see how is I just trying to figure out how Ezra's coming back. I mean, he must be with Thrawn still. I just don't. Like, I don't
see Ezra and Thrawn being butt buddies. I don't like. I feel like Thrawn has him in prison some way.
I don't see it, but Thrawn, man, he can manipulate. He really can. So
I mean, yeah. I mean, he like in the. Have you read the new canon books? I don't want to spoil.
No, I'm doing the prequels right now.
Okay.
Like the prequel books. I haven't read like the Rebels tie-in ones. I haven't done those ones at all, but.
It would say like the new Thrawn trilogy. I'll say Thrawn is very good at manipulating and looking innocent while doing so, like undetectable while doing so.
Yeah.
Through even the eyes of the most powerful people in the galaxy at the time. I'm not going to go any further, but
okay.
Just leave a little crumbs for you there.
Fair enough. I mean, I've heard enough about with the Grisk, I think is what they're calling him, like and him trying to bring people to his side for that. But if I think that if they were to introduce an extra galactic threat, I don't think it's going to be the Grisk. I think Filoni wants to bring in the Vong. I mean, he almost did it in the Clone Wars. Yeah. I think if there is any sort of external threat there, it's going to be the Vong, and I think that's the only way Thrawn is going to be able to convince Ezra to help him. So, which is possible. I also think, I just don't think Ezra would. I still think Ezra's like, Thrawn's my enemy. He has been throughout. I just finished Rebels a couple days ago, and like again for the second time, and it's clear that Ezra feels a certain way about Thrawn. I don't see that changing.
Yeah, it's not like Ezra hates Thrawn. It's more of like a respect thing. Like he has a lot of respect for him and how powerful he is. But I think it's gonna be like if Ezra does like agree and side with Thrawn in a way, it's gonna be like how Ezra, how like Ahsoka and Kanan allowed Maul on Malachor to help them. They don't trust him, but they need him to survive, and they need him to get out of there. And I think because, like you said, the Clone Wars with the Vong, a lot of the stuff has been coming from the Clone Wars, and like Dave Filoni has been laying these stepping stones for years, the past almost 20 years. Dave Filoni's been laying these stepping stones all along. So I'm gonna try and make it because I only work 3 days this week, so I'm gonna try to make a video this week on the Vong and how they're gonna be introduced in Ahsoka, and I think that's how Thrawn and Ezra haven't been able to come back yet. They're stuck there because the Vong are there, and they hate technology. There's no way that they're gonna be able to get back.
Yeah,
they're gonna be so limited.
Did you see the theory about the Purgle maybe being like the Vong had living ships in the new Jedi Order and everything? So maybe the Purgle are what they're using as their living ships or their vessels at the in this other galaxy, because the Purgle can travel through hyperspace. The Purgle are capable of they are essentially,
and that's not technology,
right. So I don't know. It'd be really interesting to see the Vong come into play in some way. I don't know if you saw, but Josh from the Den of Nerds had a video I think come out like this week, and it was just like wild speculation about where Filoni's whole new galaxy can go. It was really cool and interesting. I hope that they're taking at least some of those pieces and bringing them into canon. And it doesn't have to be the Vong. If it's the Grisk, I don't know anything about the Grisk yet, but if it is the Grisk, then cool, as long as there's some sort of like new and interesting threat, right? Because we don't want Empire versus Rebels forever. It's like it gets old.
Yeah, and at least from what the general like synopsis I got from the Grisk is pretty much they're like the new version of the Vong in a way. It's like the new like canon version of the Vong, and like that's their own story and their own version of the Vong Wars. Okay. But I would still really love to see like the Vong, or just because that's something we have never seen before in live action, or even in animated in the show, in like the shows.
Right.
And that would be a threat, like a threat where everyone is actually terrified. Where it
Right.
wouldn't just be like, all right, who has more control over which regions of the galaxy? This would be like, where this is impending doom, and we all need to do something about it, or we're not going to live to see tomorrow.
Yep.
Like,
That's
this is the
why.
fight of our lives.
That's what I like about the new Jedi Order is that there's still Imperial remnants and they still have a few worlds. It's Pelian's actually the one who's kind of leading the Empire at that point in time in the story.
Yeah.
And they have to work with the Empire because like the whole galaxy is a threat. Is being threatened from the Vaughn.
Yeah.
So
at risk.
yeah, basically they're all at risk of dying, like you said, and no one's safe. So they all need to kind of come together and fight this extragalactic threat, which I think something like that in Star Wars would be fresh, would be cool. And like I said, it doesn't have to be exactly the same as the books. I think it actually probably shouldn't be. Some of the things the Vong did were a little crazy. Collapsing.
Give us some new
stuff like
some
that.
new stories with some callbacks to the old ones.
Yep. I mean, that's what Filoni's doing right now with Heir to the Empire. and
Yeah,
stuff,
I mean,
right?
yeah, like he's literally doing it.
Yeah, so I think if he continues that trend, I think we're definitely in for a great story. I just like that we don't really know where this is headed. I think that's what makes it interesting.
Yeah, the unknowing is what makes it so special to me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, from the first teaser trailer leading up to now, if you would have told me everything that we've gotten so far, back when I first made my my first video on my channel, which was Balin is the Jorah Sabaoth clone of Luke, I wouldn't believe anything you're telling me.
Yeah,
Because it's just been so different and so insane. The one thing I did see people have been saying is that maybe the Luke clone is actually Marrok, which could be cool, but at the same time, that's really pushing it. Like that's like, I feel like that might have been even more like, I mean, I guess maybe not, but like more of pushing if Balin was the Luke clone. But from like 4 months ago, before we knew all the stuff about Balin, I feel like
if Marrok or Balin was Luke with a W, I'd be all for it. I mean, I think.
Yeah.
People hate the Luke clone in the Heir to the Empire trilogy. It's like the one piece that people are like kind of like, I don't know about that. You know what I mean? But let's get crazy.
I like it because it reminds me of like growing up watching the first X-Men, and with Mystique, well, there being two Wolverines, one being Mystique, one being Logan.
Yeah.
Like it has that like, are we seeing the real one or is this the fake?
Right.
And
right.
I love that like deception, like if you like the unknowing of which one are we seeing.
Right. It would be cool to introduce Luke, the clone this early in the story though, because Luke the clone in Heir to the Empire trilogy was introduced like in the last 2 chapters or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and ended off pretty quickly. Like it wasn't like. So I think if they do go that way, they might be like setting up the stepping stones for when we do get to the movie to get the backstory, because then we're gonna be left with for 3 or 4 years like, who is this? Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
What is his backstory? Now we're gonna learn it.
Well, we know Vader has the hand, at least in the comic. He had Luke's hand, and Palpatine had it on I think Exegol. So.
In the little vial.
Yeah. I mean, it's possible they could have cloned Luke. I don't think it's ridiculous. And Gideon has already established in Mando 3 that like Force-sensitive clones are possible. So
yeah, and Gideon. I mean, not to sound weird, but Gideon seems like he has a hard on for trying to Force-sensitive, for trying to clone Force-sensitives.
Yeah, right. That's like his
more
like,
than like Dr.
goal.
Pershing. Yeah. Like more than Dr. Pershing and everyone on Mount Tantus. Like he wants it more than anyone. I think he wants it because he wants it for himself. He doesn't want it. Like if he finds out how to do it correctly without any issues, he's not going to share that information with the Empire remnants or anyone. He's going to take that for himself.
Right. No, he's obviously very selfish in that regard, but that's where him and Thrawn differ, right? Because if Thrawn figures it out, it'll be to build his army. It won't be for himself. You know what I mean? I mean, he's not he doesn't want the Force himself. He wants to build an army that can take out the Grisk or the Vaughn or whatever it is and save the Chiss Ascendancy.
Thrawn is like selfless in that act where he wouldn't want it for himself, but he would want everyone that surrounds him and is with him to embrace him with it.
Yeah.
Kind of like how the Bendu said that, like, I see your demise like a cold embrace of arms around you.
Mm-hmm.
So, which with that too, I still think they slipped up in Rebels, and when the Bendu said that, he wasn't talking about how Ezra and Thrawn zipped away. He was talking about how Thrawn's actual death, like in like the Last Command, where it was someone so close to him being Ruch, that
Yeah.
finished him off. Like being like someone you thought was with you all along, but really isn't. I think
Yeah.
maybe even like for like the Air movie, if Pelion is the one who pulls the trigger, like
Well,
that would be
here's one for you. First of all, if Pellion's the one who turns on him, love it. Absolutely love it.
yeah, that
Because
would
I
be
love
so cool.
Pelion. He's an awesome character. And for him to have internal conflict and turn on Thrawn would be incredible to see. But I think you're right. Like I said, I watched that the other day, that episode particularly, and I know that people originally thought that the Bendu was referencing the Purgle, like basically
Yeah.
tentacles, like covering the ship, and obviously wrapping around Thrawn. But I don't know, man. There's definitely
I don't.
like
Yeah,
he's not dead.
there's more
Thrawn's
to it.
alive. There's no demise there. He's still alive.
Well,
So
yeah, and I know you said that you haven't watched The Walking Dead, but I
mm-mm.
would if you have some time, I would definitely watch Xander Berkeley's scenes in The Walking Dead. The character who plays Gregory,
Okay,
he can play that manipulativeness where he makes you think he's on your side for the long run and just backstabs you
mm.
time and time again, but he keeps making you think you can trust him. He plays it so perfectly in The Walking Dead to where you think like, all right, he may actually be like for the cause, but then he does one thing and switches that instantly. It doesn't even think about it, just does it.
Interesting. Okay.
He has that like ability just to turn on that switch, which I want to see with Pelion.
Yeah, no, I'm like super excited. His Pelion was spot on, first of all, in
Yeah,
Mando 3.
yeah, like the look alone too.
Oh my gosh.
Like,
The voice. I mean, I was like, holy, this is Pelion. Like you listen to audiobooks of
Yeah.
like the Legends books, and like that is what Pelion sounds like. They captured it completely, like super accurately. Love it. But let me throw out another theory for you then, because I've heard a lot of speculation about like there's obviously something going on with the Night Sisters, right? So the Night Sisters,
Yes.
Morgan, she wants to find Thrawn for some reason. It's possible there's a group of Night Sisters in this other galaxy,
like the ancestors
right? Of the
for
Night
like those like
Sisters.
5,000 years beforehand.
Right. So what if the Night Sisters are the ones who like are essentially taking place in the Nogri in this story? Because the Nogri were being exploited by the Empire. Thrawn was using the Nogri as bodyguards, with Rook and everything like that. Now, as far as we know, Rook is dead. He should probably be dead still.
Like you said, though, Rook could be more than just a character. It could be a code name for things, like how
Right.
that's
That's what Timothy Zahn
Thrawn's.
said.
Yeah,
So,
and
yeah.
that's Thrawn's like safe word for his droids that he was sparring with, was that was his override code.
Oh
was
yeah,
Rook.
right. Yeah, I remember that now. Yeah.
So like there's more than one meaning just to the name of Rook, and I think that's like what you, because you said, I think I was probably off camera when we were talking the first time, but you said that maybe Rook is not just a character, it's a people.
Yeah. It's like a
So-
family name or something like
Yeah.
like a surname even. Yeah, something like that. So
Classification could be too.
right. And that's so there was an interview with Timothy Zahn where he said, I wouldn't count out Rook, and he basically said something along those lines. So I would love to see Nogri live action Rook of some sort.
Yeah, no.
That'd be awesome.
And to see like
So
because I mean Rook looked like, to me, like looked okay at Rebels. Like it wasn't like taking me out of it or anything.
right.
But I mean, when Zeb said like a baby Rancor, that's all I could think of was how he looked. I'd want to see like
Yeah,
Rook
that was a
from
good- that was a good
from
comment.
like actual Heir to the Empire, like how he looked in Legends.
Yeah.
Because that would make the Nogri like scary, like actually like being like scary, like a threat, more
Oh.
than like looking like a chimpanzee, like a shaved chimpanzee.
Right.
I
They're
mean-
like assassins that hide in the shadows. They should
Yeah.
be able to sneak around quietly, easily, and be extremely deadly.
Yeah, and almost like beast, like a lion, like some sort of like a lion mix with like some sort of reptile. I don't know. To me, Rook always just felt like this like beastly creature, not a shaved ape that's blind, or a shaved chimpanzee that looks blind.
Yeah.
So
That's a good
like
point.
I don't know. he seemed way more menacing in Air than he did
Right.
in Rebels. Even though in Rebels he was like scary, it was just like I don't know. It felt toned down.
Yeah, in the comics, they looked a little big, I think, according to the way the book, kind of defines them as slender and sneaky and stuff like that. But also, like, they're super resourceful. So I don't think I don't think we want to see a giant like gorilla looking thing, but we also don't want to see like a
No.
monkey that runs on 4 legs. Like we want to see like
Yeah,
we want to see
he's
something
not
that is
he's not,
bipedal, like could stand and like sneak around
yeah,
easily. So.
he's definitely not Caesar from Planet of the Apes. That's for sure.
That's right. That's right. Yep. Yep. So,
Uh,
but
but
yeah,
yeah, just yeah.
I was just gonna say like the other the running theory that I've kind of seen here and there though is regarding like the replacement of Rook would be that the Night Sisters are going to be the ones who eventually turn on Thrawn.
That would be super cool to see too.
But they've always been a little bit in terms of like a little bit darker in terms of like dark side magic and stuff like that. So I don't really know why they would. I don't know why they'd turn to like the good side for any reason.
I could see like how like the Night Sisters and Palpatine had that like agreement beforehand.
Yeah.
With like everything like with like the Dathomirians and how Thrawn is so invested in his enemy's culture and significance of things. I think Thrawn might have a great admiration for Dathomirians as a whole and the Night Sisters and what they hold to him, and he knows that they have powers unlike the Jedi when it comes to the Force. They have things they can do that the Jedi cannot, and that's why he wants them, because he wants to be able to study it and use that. I don't really want to say technology, but that like technology that they have to their advantage,
right?
For Thrawn to use it for something.
Yeah.
So like just like how like Marin in Fallen Order and Survivor can like cloak things with her Night Sister magic. There's so many things that like they can do that like the Force can't.
Yeah, that's a good point. It should be interesting to see what kind of new like abilities we see introduced through, especially with this new Night Sister that's going to be coming from the other galaxy. So that'll be cool.
And if you want to. And if you wanted to take that further, like the Night Sisters being in the like, let's just say like the new galaxies, like the new Beyond, if they're there, that also could tie into like the ancient Zepho. Maybe they've like when they vanished, they went to a different galaxy. They're intergalactic hyperspace lanes and like grew something over there, but like studied more of like the Force and like what it means, rather than like the light and the dark. It's just the Force altogether.
Well, I was wondering if if they're even going to have the Force in this other galaxy, because
that's true too. Yeah,
like they didn't in Legends, obviously. So that's a whole nother question. But they could just be, like you said, it could just be a different understanding of what it is in this other galaxy based on what we know.
And for like, because like with the Vong, one, Force doesn't work with them, and two, they hate it.
Right.
So. And that's what I think with Air, they're gonna have to assemble the dream team to take them all down. That being Jedi and bounty hunters and smugglers and stuff, mercenaries, because you're gonna need everything you can throw at them. Because even though the lack of technology, they're more advanced in technology. That makes sense. They have less of it, but they found ways to combat it.
They're like more resourceful, basically. They're like, able to combat things in more creative ways.
Like how the Rakatans used the dark side of the Force to make a Star Forge,
right?
To build an entire fleets, plural, with the dark side of the Force and energy and particles from planets,
right,
and stars. Right. That's insane. The fact that the Rakatans could do that 25,000 years beforehand, or 5,000 years beforehand. Sorry, and then it's just. There's so many things that can happen, and I can't.
Oh yeah, no, I think I do think when it comes to things like the Star Forge, though, they almost have to be a little careful, because you don't want something that's like almost too powerful to be like, okay, we can just create a fleet out of like thin air. You know what I mean? It's like that's tough, because it works. Those kind of things work in video games, but they're hard to translate to TV and film. So I think. And same with the Vong, right? A lot of the Vong stuff works on paper when you're reading, like, oh, they're using this like these little beetles to like completely pollute this planet and poison the entire planet. Like, all right, that works. Like, but how are you going to translate that now on TV? Like, how are you going to show us that that's what's happening? So that's tough. But I'd love to see, obviously we're going to see where it's going to go. And I think that's really where my intrigue is in terms of like Filoni's story in Galaxy.
Yeah, and I totally get what you mean too. Like, how do you bring that live action?
Mm-hmm.
Like, especially the stuff with the Star Forge, and like for that to like make sense for me anyway. Because I'd be like, well, why can't they just do that now? Why can't they just make that now, or have that like that now?
Right.
So something would have to happen where it's like a lost civilization, like lost technology that can't be found, it can't be replicated, because it was for and during that time frame.
Right.
Like there's no blueprints on how to recreate it. It was something only that species was able to accomplish. Kind of like the
Yeah.
Islamari.
Yeah. Right.
Like
Right.
but at the same time, like that might even be hard to show how to use in live action because in
Yeah.
Force Unleashed you could see what the Force looks like. It's like blue,
Yeah.
but in live action there's nothing. It's just the sound that you hear from it.
I
So
know.
there's so many
And
different things. Like how would you do that?
I mean, yeah, if there's someone's using like Force Lightning, obviously it's easier if you can see it kind of
Oh, yeah,
repel or
yeah.
whatever. But like, yeah, if you're just using like the Force Push or something, that's going to be nearly impossible to
Or
show in live action. So
or like how like Grogu you like made that like the force field.
around the fire, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
you can't see it, but you know that it's there,
Mhm.
which could be how they do the use Lamari, how they do their ability like
Ooh.
that. But I feel like you would have to. I don't know. From seeing it in the book, I feel like I'd have to see like the arc that George Sabayoth created when he tried to use Force Lightning on Thrawn and Hellion.
Yeah, that's the Grogu thing. You bring up a really good point though, because that could be our first kind of look at what it would look like. Because technically,
they're
he
testing
created a bubble around him and Din and Bo, right? So these Lamari are said to create a bubble, essentially, of repellent, essentially. But so yeah, that could look very similar, I think.
Well, yeah, and to feed into that into a little bit more, like, so they showed Zeb in Mando season 3. They're testing it to see how audiences react to it, how it works in live action,
Mhm.
and like if the VFX, like what they need to change, like what works, what doesn't work. They're testing it before bringing it into full force.
Yeah.
So the Grogu with like the force field,
Right.
Zeb,
Even
the
Luke
Purgil,
and the
yeah,
deepfake.
Luke,
Yeah.
Luke, Purgil. They're testing it out in these other shows before, like, all right, boom, done, set it, cut, print, shoot, it's
Right.
done, like with perfect,
Yeah.
all ironed out. They're testing out how to do these things so that when the time comes, they're like, all right, sweet, we already know how to do it, it's done.
I think that's right. Yeah, I think obviously John Favreau is very into like advancing the technology, and I think he wants to make sure things look good before they really implement them in a bunch of shows. So I think you're right. I think it's probably a lot of it's just test runs, especially with Zeb. There's a reason we haven't seen Zeb yet, and we know that Ahsoka and Mando 3 were shooting, pretty much back to back. So I mean, that could have been the test run in Mando, and then Ahsoka could be like waiting to use him, but they might not have even finalized the effects on Zeb by the time Ahsoka was shooting. So maybe they were just like, we'll wait for season 2 for him. I mean, I don't know if we're going to see Zeb this season, with the way the story's going.
Yeah, I think like if we do, like if we see all the Ghost Crew together, like let's say like it's on Yavin, for example, I think it would be like a brief cameo, kind of like how he showed up in Mando.
I think you're right.
To where like an Air where he'll have more screen time. But with that too, for some reason I always thought that that Ahsoka, Mando season 3, Andor and Obi-Wan were all filmed around the same time altogether. Because like they did that that Variety magazine shoot where they're all together.
Yeah, Ahsoka hadn't begun shooting when they did the shoot. You can tell Ahsoka has a shorter Leiku in that too.
Does she?
Yep. But that was, you're right. Obi-Wan was done filming when they did the Variety shoot, I think. So yeah, it was Obi-Wan and then Mando 3, and then Ahsoka and Skeleton Crew did film at the exact same time, basically. So,
and that would make sense for leading it. Look, from like the trailer we saw, it leads into like Mando season 3 leads into that.
Yeah.
With fucking the one guy.
Yeah.
Vane.
Yeah. So I think that's definitely. I'm excited for Skeleton Crew. I know a lot of people are like,
I am
whatever.
too.
I just think like anything that's going to advance the Mandoverse plot lines like further, I'm all for, and I can't wait to see kind of where that's going to head.
Give us the Truffle Shuffle. Like it's supposed to be Space Goonies. I want to see it.
Yeah. No, I think there could be some good comedy in it though. With like kids running around the galaxy and getting into shenanigans and stuff. So
I almost like I know people are saying it's like Space Goonies. I'm almost thinking of it like Stranger Things in space.
Right. I think more akin to Stranger Things because I think it's gonna have more like adult kind of situations. Whereas Goonies is literally just like kids hunting for treasure. I don't think we're getting that. So I love Goonies, but come on.
Yeah, and then Thanos just hanging out here and there throughout the movie. It's just
right.
yeah, it's like, I'm definitely very excited. I'm even more excited for Acolyte after seeing the like leaked trailer for it.
Yeah, Acolyte looks good. I mean, I'm like skeptically excited for that because I think it could be really good, but I know nothing about the High Republic. I don't know how much they're going to try to lean into like, oh, you need to read the High Republic books to like get this. You know what I mean? Like, I don't.
Yeah.
Is Disney trying to sell the High Republic, or is they just making a good show? There's going to be a couple questions around that, but I'm excited to see it. It looks very prequel-esque, which is cool.
Yeah, and also the Eclipse game that we know nothing about is taking place during that time.
Right, that too. Yeah.
And that game's not supposed to come out until like 2027, so like it's well, and by the time Acolyte comes out, it'll probably be closer to that time anyway, but
yeah, at this point
we know so little about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because we know so little about it, but yet it's so close to being done.
Mm-hmm.
Like being at her doorstep. I think it's like in a way, even though Leslie has said some really outlandish stuff, I think it's gonna be more like George Lucas Star Wars in terms of like the prequel era feel to it, because it's at like the height of the Jedi, like the peak of the Jedi.
Yeah, that's my only thought is like if they really lean into the prequel like look and feel, like maybe even like Phantom Menace, like kind of look, then I think it's gonna be a home run, but we'll see. Yeah, it's hard to say because we know like little to nothing about the show in terms of like what it's actually going to be about. Like, is it actually going to, that's the other question, right? Because it's supposed to be about dark side users, but like almost every dark side like centric story since Disney has taken over has like had a redemption. And it's like,
yeah, they always come back to the light at the
right,
end.
Like
it's predictable.
So it's predictable. So I hope, if it is dark side centric, that like we see them lean into it a lot, and
like I want to see
corruption within the Sith, see some backstabbing. I mean, it's the rule of two, man. There can only be two of them.
Well, so even then, what do you think that was like during that time, like with the Sith and everything? Do you think it was like, I know like everything with rule 2, but like at 1.2 there was the Sith Empire. Do you think it's gonna be like having like a lot more of Sith in it other than just 2? And lead into more of like the Sith Empire leading into the Rule 2, and why they didn't work because they're constantly backstabbing one another.
Well, this should be after the Rule 2 was established, at least. So I hope there's more than one, or more than 2, obviously, but that leads to the backstabbing and and so forth.
Well, I definitely going to be wrong, but I thought there was a leak that talked about months ago that like it's following these siblings, like 2 sisters.
Yeah, that's what I heard too. Like one is a dark side user, one's a Jedi. So
and that kind of reminds me of like one of the cinematic trailers for the Old Republic, one of the DLCs.
Yeah, the twins or whatever.
Yeah. Well, yeah, with the twins, but also the green Twi'lek that has like her Leku like half cut off on one side, and Malgus is there.
Oh yeah.
But it just reminded me of like her being stripped away from her sister because she was too strong and the other one wasn't strong enough. So I didn't know if they're going to lead more into like the hatred for one of the sisters because one of them is better than that one and was more force sensitive, so was taken by the Jedi Order, and the other one was left to rot.
Yeah,
and the hatred from that fueled it. I don't know. I
don't know either.
I'm trying to make sense of it.
I just hope it's good. I mean, if it kicks off a whole new era of Star Wars, like in terms of like if we're gonna get High Republic shows and movies, and they're gonna be, and there's a really interesting story there, then great. The only thing is, like, we know that the Jedi have had peace for 1,000 years before Phantom Menace, and that they've gotten complacent. So, like, I almost don't want too much Jedi conflict, and the Jedi they should not interact with the Sith at all. So this should be
this is the peak of the Jedi,
right? Like this should be more of a Sith-centric story and they shouldn't interact with the Jedi in my eyes. I mean,
this is his hand. 1 second. I just want to double check before I say some stuff that's not accurate. Yeah, because there's because this would be right after the 100 Year of Darkness, right? like when the Sith ruled for that like 100 years, and now like it's like the Jedi
I
should be
mean,
so. I mean, in my opinion, like so full of themselves at this point, and so
right.
at like the peak of like, no, this is the. I don't even know what I was gonna say. I
Well,
lost
they
my train
don't
of thought.
even believe the Sith can be back. They, in the Phantom Menace, and this takes place 100
Yeah,
years before the Phantom Menace. So like, they shouldn't at all come to come in communication with the Sith during the show, because if they do, then how 100 years later they're going to be like, no way, the Sith have been gone for 1,000 years. Like that's what they
yeah,
say in
and
Phantom Menace.
well,
So
that's kind of why I brought up like the Sith Empire, because like, what if this empire was growing like underneath the Republic without them knowing this entire time, and then
yeah,
something happened, and like let's say like Palpatine with the Plagueis story, let's say like Palpatine killed all those Sith so that there could only be the two, him and his
I
apprentice.
think that'd be cool.
That's what I was thinking. Like the Jedi are so blinded to all the red flags and everything around them that they
Hmm.
don't even think it's possible in reality. This army has been building, kind of like the fleet in Exegol in a way. Like it's kind of just like they were so caught up in them being so great, they weren't worried about the threats that are growing.
I'm fine with that. I think it'd be cool though if this then show led us into a Plagueis young Palpatine
Yeah,
story, right? That'd be. I think everyone wants to see a young Palpatine story, so that would be huge.
and I honestly I thought the show was like 200 to 300 years before Episode
It's
One,
just
but if it's
100.
even 100, yeah, if it's
Yeah.
100, it could even end off like with like maybe like a time jump, and it's starting off where like young Sheev Palpatine and Plagueis.
Right. Well, Plagueis should be. I mean, he's like ancient, right? Like he should be alive, I think. But I don't know. I don't know
Yeah.
how old he was when Palpatine eventually killed him. I don't know what his actual age was in the books. But that was technically
He
Legends
was
though too.
115 years old apparently.
Ooh,
He was around 115 years old when he died. And Palpatine was 9 years
okay.
old when he met him, or 19 years old
Okay.
when he met him.
115. Well, no, he wouldn't be alive then during the Acolyte. He would be close though.
Well,
So he's gonna be close.
I mean, maybe because it's 100 years. Is it 100 years before a Phantom Menace or before? I mean, because then if it, I mean,
it's 100 years before Phantom Menace, and Palpatine is probably what, 40s, 50s in Phantom Menace.
yeah, I
Oh,
might say
maybe
like
even older.
early, maybe early 50s.
Yeah. Okay, I would say 50s.
But then like Plagueis, if he's 115 years old by the time he dies, he should be around in his early teens,
Oh yeah.
or
So
like
he
early
should be.
20s,
He
late
should be around.
30s.
Yeah.
You should be around.
Okay. That'd be
But
cool.
what if Plagueis was a Jedi? Like, what if they changed his entire backstory?
That
What if he was a
would be wild,
Jedi?
too. I mean, they probably are going to change his backstory because that was the Plagueis book was Legends, so it's EU.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not gonna. They're gonna change the backstory of Plagueis, and this is the time to touch that story though. If they're gonna do it, Acolyte.
Yeah,
Yeah, that'd be cool.
because then they could even set up like a young Palpatine show, like if they do
Right.
like a 12-episode miniseries like Andor, but it's going through how Palpatine, like let's say like 3 or 4 episodes of like Palpatine with Plagueis, and then Palpatine starting to corrupt the Republic slowly, and then him like from the Red Blade book,
Yeah.
him going through and manipulating all these Jedi, leading all the way up to Anakin's turn would be so cool to see.
Yeah.
To see how he pulled the strings that was the master puppets all along.
Yeah, that would be sick. I mean, I really think this is an opportunity to do that. So hopefully
Yeah.
they do lead us into some sort of young Palpatine show, man. That would be people would go nuts for that, for sure.
I mean, even if they don't get Ian McDermott to do the voice, because it would be like the Indiana Jones thing you said from Battle of Destiny, where it's like old Harrison Ford
Yeah.
with like voice with new Harrison Ford face. But even if we could hear like just Ian McDermott, like even if he like voices Plagueis in some way, like
I mean,
I don't know, just not it being the same voice as Palpatine's, but like a different voice that he's doing, just like to have him have some sort of tie-in to the show.
if it's
Since
young
it's his
Palpatine
character.
though, like I just think recast, but like you said, if they're gonna do maybe
Yeah.
a time jump or something like that to show us some of the manipulation, then there's a chance for Ian McDermott to come in and play.
Yeah, bring
something,
him back
so,
and like de-age him a little bit,
yeah,
and like bring him back and like to show like him going through like throughout the Senate, and then
yeah,
like going and manipulating these Jedi. That would be Sheev Palpatine from the prequels,
that
so
would
he
be
could still come
sick.
back in. They just got to tighten up his neck a little bit.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I think hey, de-aging technology is there. They can do that easily.
Yeah.
So
I mean, obviously with that listening, we saw that too. Like it looked, I don't want to say perfect, but
yeah,
pretty much
damn
perfect.
near
So like there
perfect,
wasn't
right?
anything I noticed. There, it wasn't like Luke in Mando season 2, which even in Book of Boba Fett, he looked incredible,
Oh yeah.
but his like lips were a little off. This felt like fully fledged out, like perfect.
Yeah. I mean, it
They
helped that
polished.
Harrison Ford was underneath, though, I think,
Yeah,
probably helped capture what they were trying to. But whereas
and
it's different with
Harrison,
Luke because they have a stand in for him. So,
well, yeah, and I don't want to shit on Mark Hamill, but like Harrison Ford seems more of like still like in that build and in that like
yeah. Well, he
body
was a lot
shape as he
older when he
was.
did, whatever, the
Yeah,
original Indiana
he was in his
Jones. Then he,
40s.
yeah,
Yeah.
then Mark Hamill was when he started Star Wars. I mean, he was literally
Yeah, Mark
19.
Hamill was 19. Yeah, he was 19. And so
Yeah.
like Mark Hamill's changed so much and grown so much and aged so much since then. Like he looks a ton different. He looks like a totally different person from what he used to. So
Hmm.
I could see like where like with Luke it looks different because they're also using the stand-in but trying to use old Luke and
Right.
uh like young Mark Hamill and now old Mark Hamill trying to mix them together. How it might not be perfect. With Harrison Ford, it looked perfect.
Yeah. I agree. That was probably the best deepfake I've seen
Yeah.
ever. I mean, incredible. Which is why they need to do that again for the Heir to the Empire movie. Give me Han Solo one last hurrah. I mean, come on,
Yeah,
him
I
and
just want to
Luke.
hear
Oh,
like Harrison say like, "Hey kid,"
yeah,
to
dude, don't
like
even get me
Luke.
started. Don't even get me started. God, it'd be too damn good. I got high hopes for this movie, man. I am like,
I do too.
that is my most hyped. Like, we talk about Skeleton Crew, we talk about Acolyte. Like, that
Yeah.
is my
No,
most
yeah.
hyped
This
Star
yeah,
Wars
it's
Lucasfilm project, whatever you want to call it. Like,
and
number one.
I don't want to keep sounding like a Dave Filoni fanboy, but in these 4 episodes, like we could tell since he wrote all these episodes, we could tell like no, this is Dave's writing. This isn't 6 other writers making this story for this episode.
Right.
Like it feels so pure and so much like Star Wars, even when it's trying like almost like not to be. Like it feels the most like George Lucas Star Wars, but at the same time feels what Star Wars should be, and the story feels
Yeah.
like
I
fleshed
think
out thoroughly, and it's not just thrown together.
the story is definitely hitting all the marks. I definitely I see where people are coming from and saying, like, dialogue's a little wooden, stuff like that. Like, I get
But
it,
George Lucas
but
dialogue
George
was wooden
Lucas
too.
dialogue was
Yeah,
awful, like straight up awful. So
look
this
at
is a step up even
AOTC.
from,
Yeah,
this is a step up from Attack of the Clones, and I love Attack of the Clones. So if I love that,
yeah.
I
No,
can
it's
I can love
top three
this.
favorite movies.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, you know what I mean. So I am on board with it. I 100%. Uh, when they landed in the Red Forest in Episode 3, and we see
yeah.
that shot of the ship just sitting there in the Red Forest, like, dude,
Literally
that was like,
Dagobah. Like,
yeah, it was Dagobah. Like, that
yeah,
was the most like Star Wars like shot I've seen in
yeah.
years. I mean, that
That's
just like straight up pulled out of the movies. I mean,
and like that's why I mentioned that in my breakdown. I was like, this literally feels like Dagobah. Like
yeah,
the wide shot of Dagobah, where like there's the snake on the log in the foreground, and in the
yep,
background you see like the swamp and everything. I was like, this literally feels like Dagobah. It's not like dark and creepy, but it's eerie. Like I mean, the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. I'm like,
yeah.
oh, what's lurking in this woods?
Oh,
Like
dude,
there's
I
something there.
I'm so excited for this episode coming up. I think it's going to be. I think it's just going to hit the mark in terms of like what we really want to see in terms of lightsaber battles. I think the vibe on this planet is so cool. Like you said, it's like got that Dagobah like
Yeah.
eerie vibe. So no, I'm super super hyped to see it. I think it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be incredible.
Also, yeah. Like Heir to the Empire is definitely like the movie. Dave's movie is way up here, and everything else is below. But like, I'm so impressed with these 4 episodes compared to like I don't want to say like the garbage we've gotten the past year and a half to 2 years. Andor is great. Book of Boba Fett, even though I have my issues with it, like this, the show alone, the fact we have a Boba Fett show, insane.
I mean, there were
Mando
some
season
great
3,
episodes in that show.
yeah,
I mean, we've talked about it many times, but yeah, I still think,
yeah. Mando season 3 felt like a letdown to me. Like it had great episodes. Like the last 2 episodes were amazing to me.
mm-hmm.
Um, Kenobi to me was a big letdown. They
Yeah,
could have done so much with it, and didn't. Just played way too safe.
Yeah.
And Dave, I feel like obviously the first episode ends with Sabine almost dying. He doesn't care about playing it safe. He
Right.
wants you to feel the risk. And
I
with that too,
I hope there
Go ahead.
is, even by the end of the season, I hope we even feel more risk. I hope I'm not hoping any major characters die, but I'm hoping that Dave shows us that it's possible at least. You know what I mean? At the very least.
I want us to be like shitting our pants at the end of that episode, being like, now we gotta wait for 4 years to see what's gonna happen because
Right.
that ending was so good. Like almost like the ending of Sopranos, where it's just constantly leaving you wondering like, what happened? Is Tony Soprano still alive?
Right.
Because it's just an instant cut to black. So like, what is happening? Like how are they gonna recover? Kind of like how Infinity War ended, like in that entire year of speculation. Like that was the most fun, like in the Marvel community anyway for me. That was the most like funnest, like what is going to happen.
Right.
Um,
Give us something to think about, right, for the next few years or whatever. So
I just wanted to ask, like, how'd you feel about the Starfighters? They like, to me, they sounded like pod racers. I loved it too.
Yeah, I like the sound design a lot. They look like World War II planes. It was really cool. I like that.
Japanese bombers.
Yeah, and that's something that George would do, right? Like George would definitely take.
Especially Dave's too.
Oh yeah, it was great. I loved it. The whole space battle was awesome. Like even them getting like knocked out, and then like they have to get the ship back online. Hu Yang was hilarious. Also, that guy.
Oh yeah.
The droid is
David
like,
Tennant.
Yeah, Dave Tennant's killing it, man. That is Hu Yang is doing great things in that show. Love him.
Well, and even like with Dave like adding in like little small like samurai hints, like the Boken, for example, that they were using, like Sabine and Ahsoka and Hu Yang were using, and Hu Yang's too with the Old Republic tech, him like using like the holo sabers.
Yep.
Like that. I never thought we would see that live action. The fact that Hu Yang's sitting there like Grievous, just
oh my gosh,
it's so cool to see.
The Force,
yeah,
that was great.
And the fact that they just like retract in like he wasn't like, it's like normal. It's just so cool to see that, like we got to see that, especially too like with in the Get Ready trailer where Sabine and Shin are like facing off in like the stance. Shin literally looks like a samurai.
Yeah.
Amazing the attention to detail with like what I can see where Dave pulls his things from.
Right, like and Baylan looks like a knight, like a medieval knight or something. Like he's got like that. It's.
I never made the video, but one of the videos I was gonna make was like, what if Baylan is from the Old Republic somehow?
Right.
Because to me, he made me feel like a lot of like Valakorian. Like he gave me that feel right away when I first saw like the shoulder pauldron.
Definitely, it's the Old Republic feel.
This man came from the world between worlds, and he's like guarding it from the Old Republic.
Right.
like just the way that he was presented, like shit.
Yeah.
Like we're gonna be in for a treat.
I think so, man. I think this episode is like, as far as what we've seen in trailers, like we're gonna be blind after this episode for the most part. Besides like two shots of Thrawn.
We got those couple shots, and then like the ghost. We haven't seen anything else too. So that like. Right. This is all gonna be new. I'm definitely making a video like my like mid-season predictions.
Right.
Because where are we gonna go from here?
Yeah, I mean,
no one knows.
We'll be able to speculate a lot better after Tuesday. But I think we see the ghost this week. I do want to say that Sabine, we know, or not Sabine. Yeah. Hera's gonna show up on this planet.
Yeah.
And I think that line she says, like, once a rebel, always a rebel, is her like rebelling against the New Republic and basically saying like, I'm gonna go help them out. So. I think we see, it'd be cool if Jason comes along, but I think we're going to see the ghost for sure.
I think he is there because we see the shot of Jason and her jumping the hyperspace.
Oh yeah, in the seat. Yeah, he's in the passenger seat. So yeah,
they set it up too when Jason's like, I want to be a Jedi, and she looks at him. And she's like, I know you do.
Yeah.
Like.
It's kind of like she seems like she might not want him to be one, but he wants to be one. He's gonna be one. Ezra's gonna train him. We know how that's gonna go. I mean, he's got to.
Seeing him wearing Kanan's shoulder pauldron too.
Oh yeah.
Just seeing it like right there. Seeing like the logo too, especially since it just made merch on it too. It's just like come on, stop.
I know, right?
Like you're doing too much. I don't know why I started crying. I just started thinking of Kanan.
No, I know. Kanan's like your favorite, man, and I think having Jason extend his legacy is huge for the show and for Star Wars in general. So I think I can't wait to see more of Jason and him coming into his own as a Jedi in the future. I think that's going to be huge. So, yeah.
If Hera would have said to him like, "You're so much like your father," like
Oh my God, yeah.
like
Get outta here.
I would have
Yeah.
lost my shit. I would have
Get
lost my
out of here.
shit.
Jeez. Well, we'll see. We'll see what Ezra says when he meets him. Ezra's never met Jason, so that's like
Yeah,
another
I don't
thing
even
that's
think
gonna
Ezra
be,
knows
like,
that Jason
exists.
Like, I don't even like.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think he knew that Hera was pregnant. I don't think Hera knew she was pregnant.
Well,
honestly,
that's a whole other issue. But
well, I mean, because that the epilogue happened after the Battle of Endor.
right. Ooh, that's
So, I mean, at least that's the presumption it was given, because it said like Hera had fought in the Battle of Endor, same thing with Captain Rex,
right.
and then that's when they show Hera and Jason together.
Yeah, but
Spectre
Jason's
7.
already what, 3 or 4 there, so.
Oh, I think he's like 6 or 7 there.
Okay,
I think
hell if I know.
because he looks. I mean, I don't have kids, but he looks pretty like he looks like he's usually like 6 or 7 at that point in time.
It's animation.
And-
it's hard to tell, honestly. Hard to tell.
I mean, I couldn't see like a 4-year-old looking the way he does, like how like he was like, I don't know.
True.
I guess you're right. It's animation, but like
Hard to
he
tell
just
in
looked a little bit
animation,
more
yeah.
older. Yeah.
All right. Well, I got a question for you then before we wrap here. So
Sure
we've
thing,
seen quite a few of the characters now, and at least animated characters, that have transitioned to live action. Who is your who do you think is doing the best job in terms of like transitioning from animation to live action, capturing the character? There's a lot of discussion online about it, so I'm just curious what you think.
I would have to give 2, and one of them we haven't seen a whole lot of, so I can't speak too much on it. But that would be Lars Mikkelsen Thrawn. Just the way
that's
he looks,
early. It's early to tell, but like
just the way he looks alone. Not even we haven't even heard the Thrawn voice again,
right.
but just the way he looks, I'm like, that's Thrawn.
Yeah. Good point.
But none of the actresses or actors have taken me out of it. I've seen people saying that like Ahsoka feels still too dull. Like Hera isn't Hera. Sabine is different.
Right. I've seen a lot of comments.
At the same time, you got to give too. This has been like over 10 years. Things have changed, but at the same time, I think honestly, sometimes it does feel a little campy. But like Natasha Leigh-Rodizo as Sabine.
Okay.
Seeing how she handles Sabine and Sabine's like attitude with things.
Yeah.
Her like uncaring of situations. It feels like Sabine.
Yeah, I think
even
they're all doing a pretty good job. How about Ezra and the hologram, though? I mean, that voice was spot
perfect.
on. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
spot
on. I genuinely thought that was Taylor doing the voice acting.
Right.
I would say too, Hera in episode 2 when her and Chopper are going after the transport ship.
Yeah, Hera for me is the number one.
Yeah,
I think
that felt.
And it's crazy because people like originally were like, "Oh, Hera doesn't look like Hera." Like Hera acts like Hera, though. Like
even so, like the look doesn't matter. Her lake who literally have the
little designs
the engravings
on
and stuff.
Yeah.
And
but the way she talks to Chopper and the way she talks to her son and everything, like that's the energy from Hera that like I'm used to from the show, and it like she captured it perfectly. I think like she's spot on.
Yeah. Especially when she said, or we can make this a more formal inspection.
Oh yeah.
I was like, all right, Hera's playing the cards.
That's
like Hera's
Hera.
playing like I'm your superior.
Yeah. No, I think they're all doing a great job, honestly. And the whole, complaint about Ahsoka being too stoic and stuff, like go back and watch Rebels. She's super stoic.
What was Ahsoka?
Like,
yeah.
Like this isn't Clone Wars Ahsoka. That's what people need to understand. Like it's not. So.
I would say even too, Ahsoka with the Trace sisters even.
Yeah.
Like she was more of like no, I'm keeping to myself.
Right.
Like even then, like that was before she like obviously went. I mean, I would say even though she wasn't a Jedi, she went back to the Order in the last couple episodes of Clone Wars and became a Jedi again. That like her mindset completely changed and her mannerisms and everything changed. But when she was on the run, that version of Ahsoka feels the exact same now. With older Ahsoka.
Yeah, like Ahsoka's got a mission. She's not here to like screw around. Like there's not.
Oh yeah,
the fun is over. She's been through 2 wars. She's not. Yeah, it's like.
She probably has an immense amount of guilt for a ton of things.
Yeah.
The most importantly being walking away from Anakin.
Oh yeah, that definitely.
I feel like she
on her
carried.
big time.
that's why she walked away from Sabine, because I feel like she didn't like, and why she wouldn't train Grogu. She's so scared of recreating an Anakin Skywalker
Yeah.
that she just doesn't want
I
anything to do
think
with it.
I think we're gonna see her come to terms with that though in the show. I think that's what a big part of this, these next
Yeah,
four episodes or whatever after 4 is gonna be.
uh, so I think that like Anakin is gonna tell Ahsoka like, no, it's like not your fault, or Luke's gonna tell her like, I spoke with my father and he wanted you like, I want you to know that he did redeem himself in the end.
Mm-hmm.
Anakin did come back to the light. Anakin still became the chosen one at the end and fulfilled the prophecy of chosen one.
Right. She has to know, right? She has to
She,
figure it out somehow.
and she obviously definitely does know that, unless Book of Boba Fett takes place after Ahsoka, unless when she says you're so much like your father, that's after Ahsoka finds out from Luke that like Anakin redeemed himself. Because very well
I
could
hope
be
it
that Book of
is.
Boba Fett. Yeah,
I hope
I
Book
think
of Boba Fett is taking place later because it doesn't really make sense in
yeah,
the story for Morgan Elsbeth to be captured in Mando season 2, and then Ahsoka just runs around the galaxy meeting with Luke and others, and then later comes back to like Morgan Elsbeth
yeah.
situation. Like I don't know. That's just
So I think the Morgan Elsbeth situation and everything, with like how the episode started out, the first episode, I think this might be like maybe a month or two after
two.
Mando season 2,
Yeah.
like that episode, or maybe even a couple of weeks, just based off of like the time frame. Because
Right.
if Morgan Elsbeth is still being transferred, and brought to the New Republic, she's she she hasn't been waiting around on the ship for 2 months. They're actively trying to get her across
Right.
the galaxy
Right.
to face trial.
That's
So
what
I think that's like right after.
That's the way I
So
see
like,
it. So I don't think she's met Luke yet in this time period,
yeah,
or where we're
and
at right now in the show. Obviously, that could happen in episode 5. Is kind of my whole theory here. Is that she's gonna come to terms with the Anakin situation, episode 5. Maybe go see Luke 5 or 6 is kind of what I think
yeah,
happens.
and that's why I think like when I brought up last week when I talked about my Luke video with her going up and talking to Luke saying we need your help, that tying into directly in the episode of Book of Boba Fett where she goes and talks to Luke and gives him Grogu's shirt.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's gonna be that like I feel like that might be part of that like conversation. Maybe if they, I don't know. I wanted to lead in when Ahsoka talking to Luke saying like we need your help. I wanted that to be going right into the Mando episode in Book of Boba.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind if that was like the last scene of the season.
Yeah, because
Like,
also
it doesn't
too
have
like
to be episode 5 or
Ahsoka's
6. Like it could be an after credit scene for all I care.
yeah, and Ahsoka isn't in Mando season 3 at all, so she's obviously busy doing stuff
Right.
during that time.
Right.
So what she's doing, we don't know, but
Right.
I don't know. That's kind of like where my head's at with it. I don't know about you.
No, I'm on the same page. I think that we haven't seen that interaction yet, and I hope we do, and I hope that that's the first time that she kind of talks to Luke. And that would make sense. I think that makes the most sense. So, no, I'm hoping that all comes together. I really want to see at least a Luke cameo or mention, even if like it ends with like, okay, I gotta go see this Luke Skywalker guy. You know what I mean? Like, and we know that they meet. Like that's fine.
Her saying to Ahsoka or to Ezra, "I need to go see Luke. I need to go talk to Luke."
Yeah.
Or I think I might know someone who can help.
That would be sick. I'd be in on that. I mean, that way we at least get we get hyped up for like what happens next because we know that she's gonna go see Luke.
Or Jason's with Ahsoka, Sabine, and Ezra, and they land on the planet on a T6 shuttle, and then Jason asks her like, "Where are we?" And she's like, "There's someone here that you need to meet."
Ooh, get me some training with Luke.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And like we see Luke in the training grounds from like the Yavin 4 Praxium, but just like recreated on this planet.
That would be so sick. Yeah. I mean, I feel like that's the kind of thing that I can hype myself up about. That might happen, and like I'll be disappointed if it doesn't. So like I gotta hamper my expectations there because I'm like, I'm all about like Luke showing up as much as possible. So I definitely, we gotta just wait and see. Be patient on that one. I mean, we know we're gonna see Hayden at least, so that's a win. We'll take that for now.
I can't wait. I can't wait. There has to be 2 flashbacks. 'Cause one of them feels like he's talking in the Clone Wars, and one of them, like one of the other scenes, like the voice, the two lines don't mix together. They wouldn't work together.
Right.
I feel like the other one where he's like, I have faith in you, Ahsoka. I know you can do this.
Yeah.
I think that's him and a Force Ghost.
I hope
talking
so.
to
Yeah.
Ahsoka.
I hope it's Force Ghost for sure.
Because obviously we know from Kenobi now that now Obi-Wan's going through that journey with Qui-Gon to be able to become a Force Ghost
Right.
and like learn how to do it. So Obi-Wan may have the time to teach Anakin, and with Anakin still, yeah, he's dead. He's a Force Ghost, or he's like now part of the Force. His midichlorian count's still so high. He might be able to quickly learn how to become a Force Ghost in this 7-ish years.
I mean, yeah, we also don't know that like we see him at the end of Return of the Jedi, so we don't know that he didn't figure something out about being a Force Ghost between A New Hope and Return of the Jedi, especially once he saw Obi-Wan like literally vanish in thin air. Like he steps on the cloak. Like, what happened here? That might spark his interest enough to be like, okay, I got to figure out what he's doing.
And if you want to tie that into like the books and stuff, like the Dr. Aphra run, that could be like Vader. He's going on his own like journey in a way to figure out like more about the Force, like how you do this.
Yeah.
Because we've seen stuff like that in the Dr. Aphra comics as well, like with Vader going out and doing these like almost like quests to learn more about the Force and the dark side of the Force and stuff too.
Right.
So could definitely lead into like how he figured out, because I mean Hayden showed up at the end of Return, so that's a very quick turnaround.
Yeah.
So he had to have learned in some way, but there's not something Palpatine would have taught him. So he would have had to figure that out on his own.
I don't even think Palpatine knows. I mean, maybe he does.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I
mean,
agree.
he probably does,
since
if he could transfer his essence to a different body or a different host, then he probably knows how to do that. But at the same time, like how Anakin said in Episode 3, or how he said that Anakin in Episode 3, like you wouldn't learn that from a Jedi. Like he knows how to do things that Jedi don't. The Jedi know how to do things that he doesn't know how to do.
That's true.
Like Ezra can open the world between worlds. Palpatine couldn't until Ezra opened it.
Right. I think that's probably because they needed a Jedi to open it, not a Sith.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that probably has something to do with it. But...
Yeah, like the Temple on Malachor, or not Malachor, and Lothal. Like Ahsoka, Kanan, and Ezra had to open it for the seventh sister and the fifth brother to enter the temple, which caused the temple to get destroyed. Pretty much,
right?
Was by them entering it. Well, I mean, I guess not, because Vader and everything went in afterwards, but like caused the temple to start shutting down. It was with the dark side energy.
Oh yeah. That was a great arc, man. That's yeah.
Same thing with the archaeological site arc. Everything with like the guy who studied the Jedi archives. Yeah.
I mean, I don't think we're gonna see War Between Worlds unless it's in a flashback in the show, but
no.
But I'm glad that we got what we did in Rebels, and I think that there's always going to be now that kind of lingering, like, oh, it's out there, and maybe it could mean something for the future. Yeah.
I don't know if you watched my entire breakdown of Episode 1, but in Ezra's Tower, there's the two Scout Trooper helmets.
Mm-hmm.
I believe those are the ones they wore at the archaeological
I think you're
site.
right. Yeah, the ones that were over to the right side. Because Ezra's on the left, and those were on the right. Yeah.
Yeah, and Ezra already had the one on the left way beforehand in Season 3.
Right.
Or even I think maybe even in Season 2 when Zeb gave it to him.
I think that's when he got it. He got it Season 2. It was painted by Season 3 though.
Yeah, because Zeb was like, the kid wants your helmet, and he knocks out the Scout Trooper.
Yeah.
So I think that those were like planted there to be like, hey, remember this?
Yeah, that's
because I don't know how everyone missed.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know how everyone missed his helmet, like Ezra's Scout Trooper helmet, sitting there on the
right
shelf.
There in the front. Basically.
It's right. That's the first thing I noticed was that and everyone left it out. I'm like, what are you guys doing? Like, did you not see this key important piece of information here?
Yeah,
like
that was cool to see. I hope Hasbro released a Black Series Scout Trooper this year. I hope they do a Ezra.
That'll be the first helmet I collect.
Sick. Oh yeah.
I'm starting up a helmet collection. I want to get the display case with like the lights in it. Yeah.
Yeah. No. I hope they do something like that, because even the new vintage collection like figure comes with that Scout Trooper painted helmet, which is cool. So. All right,
Can't wait.
man. Well, I think we covered a lot, and we got an
Yes, sir.
awesome episode coming up. I think, dude, I am like way too excited for this episode on Tuesday,
too.
and we'll chat next week and
Yeah.
get ready to be blind going in. So a lot of speculation. We'll do some second half of the season theories for sure.
We'll say too quickly, just for like the viewers, the weekend of the 23rd, you and I both will not be here for Cantina Jargon, so we're gonna end up skipping that week. You got stuff going on, I got stuff going on that just came up, so that week's not gonna be happening. But I believe the week of the 16th, we're still
Yep.
on.
We're
For
gonna
Cantina Jargon?
record after episode 5 for sure, and then
Yeah.
so we'll miss episode 6 essentially, and then we'll pick it back up for episode 7.
Yeah, and even in the episode 7 Cantina Jargon, we can briefly talk about episode 6 too. Like, just go over our thoughts.
We'll make that one a little longer. We'll cover everything. So
Yeah.
I like that. It's a good idea. Cool. All
Sounds
right.
good.
Yeah. Well, everyone subscribe to both our channels and hit the like button. But thanks for watching, guys. Have a good one.